Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 24th monthly web workshop on Fluke Connect. Today's topic is the Fluke Connect web app overview. My name is Chaun Carda. I'm a Tier 3 technical support engineer and the Fluke lead. A few housekeeping items before I begin the presentation. Phones will be muted during the entire presentation. Feel free to type questions into the questions section of your screen at any time. Please limit your questions to the topic of today's session, and questions will be answered at the end of the presentation. One other note, this session will be recorded and uploaded to our Fluke Connect website in the next few days. I will show you how to access those recordings during the course of the presentation. So here's our agenda for today. I'll start with the Fluke Connect overview to provide you with a high-level explanation of the Fluke Connect software. Then I will review how to create a Fluke Connect account. Next, I will provide a high-level overview of the Fluke Connect web app. And finally, I will answer any questions from the audience today. Our first section is a high-level overview of Fluke Connect. I just want to cover a few basic facts about Fluke Connect for anyone that may be new to the software. Fluke Connect works with over 80 different tools in 11 different categories, including digital multimeters, clamp meters, installation testers, vibration meters, scope meters, process meters, insulation testers, infrared cameras, power loggers, and power quality monitors. The easiest way to tell if a tool will work with the Fluke Connect software is if it has the letters FC in the model name. So the 376 FC clamp meter, 1664 FC installation tester, and the T3000 FC temperature module all would be Fluke Connect enabled. The only exception is the Fluke suite of thermal image cameras. Most of them do work with Fluke Connect, but do not include the FC in the model name. And Fluke Connect software is available in over 73 different countries. One other important note, the Fluke Connect measurement software is 100% free, so please give it a try if you haven't already. Now, here's an overall flow of how the data is stored and moved through the various systems when you're using the Fluke Connect software. In step number 1, let's say you have an intermittent blower motor problem here. So you grab your 376 FC clamp meter and connect it to the blower motor to help diagnose the issue. In step number 3, the 376 FC clamp meter will communicate with the Fluke Connect mobile app via a Bluetooth connection. Then in step number 4, the Fluke Connect mobile app will upload the readings to the Fluke Connect cloud where they are permanently stored. If the cell phone is out of range, the data will be stored on the phone until it reconnects to a cell signal or Wi-Fi. And then finally, in step number 5, users can then access their Fluke Connect data in the cloud via any web-enabled device, such as a web browser, the Fluke Connect mobile app, or the Fluke Connect desktop software. So as I just noted at the end of the previous slide, the Fluke Connect software works in 3 different applications. You've got the Fluke Connect mobile app. This is the key interface for capturing measurements from the Fluke tools. You've got the Fluke Connect web app, and this is where you go to create assets and perform analysis, and the app that we will be covering today, in fact. And then finally, we have the Fluke Connect desktop app, which is the key interface for downloading thermal images and creating thermal image reports. The next thing that is important for you to know is that the Fluke Connect software comes in 3 different tiers. So we've got Fluke Connect measurements. This is the first tier and is available to all users for free. This tier enables users to capture measurements from their tools and save the data to the cloud, just like I explained in the previous slide. The second tier is Fluke Connect Assets, which comes with a 1-year free trial for users and is $250 per license per person after that. This tier includes all of the features available in the free measurements tier, plus asset management, asset health tracking, and work order management. And the final tier, or the third tier, is the top tier, and it's Fluke Connect Condition Monitoring, where the first year of the software subscription is included with the purchase of the sensor or hardware. This tier includes all of the features available in the measurements tier and the assets tier, plus hardware and a 1-year subscription. The next section is how to create a Fluke Connect account, where I will show you how to create a Fluke Connect account using the web app. You will see that the process is very simple. So we start by opening a web browser. Fluke prefers Chrome, Firefox, or Safari. Then you should go to flukeconnect.com or connect.fluke.com. Again, that's flukeconnect.com or connect.fluke.com, and either one of those will take you to the URL you see on the screen. Then you'll want to click the button next to the number 2 that says sign up, the big blue button in the middle. The next thing you will do is enter your first and last name. And first name is required, last name is not, but we do recommend that you enter this information because if you ever need to contact technical support for us to reset your password or review your account and you don't remember your email that you selected to use for your Fluke Connect account, we can always search on your first and last name. So the next thing you need to enter is your email address and your password. So you'll notice that next to the number 4, we've got the email, and I've got big highlighted information here. This email address will become your Fluke Connect account username, so choose wisely. You probably don't want to use your personal email called golfan531@gmail.com. You may want to use something that's a little bit more professional that has your name in it, either a Gmail account, a Hotmail account, or your corporate account if you're using this for company business. So at boeing.com or at fluke.com. Step number 5, you select your country. Step number 6, you select whether you want to opt into marketing emails or not. We send out about 1 marketing email per week, so it's not too bad, and it's a good idea because if there's any kind of sales going on, you'll receive those marketing pieces of information. And last but not least, in step number 7, you click the yellow Create Account button. So here you can see I filled in all the information for the account that I wanted to create, Greta Gold, gretagoldfc@gmail.com. I entered my password, my country, and I simply click the Create Account button to create my new Fluke Connect account. Once I do that, I'm taken to the registration confirmation screen, and it says, welcome to Fluke Connect, your account has been created successfully. And I click the yellow return to login button to go back to the primary Fluke Connect homepage, and I enter in my email address and my password, and I click sign in. And that will take me to the Fluke Connect web homepage. And now I'm logged into my newly created Fluke Connect account. You can see here up in the upper corner, I've got my username as Greta Gold, and anybody else that would be on my team would be viewing some of the same information. Now you can see that I already have measurements in my account. I've got a couple of measurements here, and I also have some assets. We provide you with sample measurement information and sample asset information. You can, of course, delete this sample information, but it's just our way of showing you what it will look like in your account once you add your own information. So that brings us to our next section, which is the Fluke Connect web app overview, where I will provide you with the high-level overview of the web app features. There's way too much content to cover each tab in detail, but if you check out the Fluke Connect Quick Start page, you will see that I have 1-hour videos on each one of the tabs for a more detailed explanation of all the features and functions available on each tab. So please keep that in mind as I review the web app. So here's the web app homepage and what it looks like. Across the top, you'll see our main toolbar right here in the black. And this is where you go to select your measurements, assets, or work orders that you want to work on. Next to the number 2, we have a question mark at the very top on the toolbar. What's great about this question mark is it will take you directly to the website where all of our previously recorded Fluke Connect workshops reside. So we have 23 other workshops. And if you want to get a detailed review of what assets can do for you and how to set up assets and how to delete assets, etc., you can click on this yellow question mark, and that will take you to the Fluke Connect workshop that was completely focused on assets. We also have one completely focused on work orders, one for teams, etc. Next, we've got the profile settings next to the number 3. So if I want to access the profile settings at any time in the web app, I simply need to click on the little shadow icon there. Then we've got next to the number 4, we've got some viewing options: active sessions, saved sessions, and saved measurements. You'll notice that there's a padlock next to active and saved sessions, and that's because those areas of viewing are only available to our condition monitoring customers, which is fine. We've got access to our saved measurements, which is where all of our information is stored in the Fluke Connect cloud. Next to the number 5, we've got filtering and sorting options. So we've got a filter, we've got a sort, and we've got another filter. I'll go into those in a moment. And then down next to number 6 is the main area where we've got all of our measurements. You can see this is a 376 FC log file that I created and downloaded to my Fluke Connect account. So to begin, I will start by showing you the profile options available in the web app. There are 10 total, including the sign out option. And to access the profile options, you simply need to click on this little shadow icon or your name up in the toolbar area. And the first piece of information I like to highlight, because this is a frequently asked question we get on the technical support team. The question is, what license type am I using and how many days before it expires? So if you click on the profile options, you'll see that I'm currently using the Fluke Connect Assets trial license, and I have 206 days remaining on my license before it expires. Next, we've got the Manage Subscription option. So if you had a paid subscription, such as a Fluke Connect Assets full subscription or the Fluke Connect Condition Monitoring subscription, you would be able to view that information here. It would tell you how many licenses you had and when the expiration date would be. Next, we've got settings. Here's where you select the temperature unit you want to use throughout the entire web app. Your choices are Celsius or Fahrenheit, and this will determine how the temperature information is viewed from within the Fluke Connect web app. You will need to do this for each of the other Fluke Connect apps. So the Fluke Connect mobile app and the Fluke Connect desktop app also have a temperature setting area that you will need to select. And you will also need to do this on any tool that takes temperature readings, such as infrared cameras and the T3000 FC temperature module. This is another frequently asked question we get, so I like to point this out. Next, we've got My Account. Here's where you would see your purchase history for any subscriptions that you had paid for. Next in profile options is Notifications. Here's where you would see any alarm notifications or system notifications. This is primarily used for Fluke Connect condition monitoring customers, so you probably won't see much activity here unless you're using one of those products. However, in our case, we did receive some notifications when new team members accepted my invitation to join my team, like you see here. So I can see that Steve Sampson and Mark Manning joined my team, and I can see the date and time of when that happened, which is great because if you're setting up your account and you're adding people to your team, you get notification when they've actually accepted your invitation. Next in the profile options is Activate Product. This is another option that is only for Fluke Connect condition monitoring customers, specifically those using our 3540 FC power monitor. They can activate their new 3540 power monitor here. Next in profile options is the edit profile, which is where we go to change our first name, our last name, or our phone number. You'll notice that the email user type is not available to be changed, which is true. You are not able to change your Fluke Connect username, which is why in the previous section I pointed out that you want to choose that name wisely. Next, we have the ability to change our password. This works like any other software password system. You enter your current password, you enter the new password, you re-enter the new password, and then you simply click on the yellow done button to make that change. Now, this password is used for all Fluke Connect software, the web app you see here, the Fluke Connect mobile app, and the Fluke Connect desktop app. So please keep that in mind. You'll want to make a note of that password change. Next in the profile options is the give feedback option. This is a fairly new option and it's great because here you go to share your opinions about the product directly with the product team. They all see your comments and review product recommendations and suggestions here. So what's great is if you have an idea for enhancing the product or a suggestion about the product and you want to send it directly to the product team, this is your avenue to do that. Now, if you have an issue or problem with the software and you fill out this information instead of going to contact the technical support team, the product team will just route this over to the technical support team. And last but not least, we have the sign out option here at the bottom. This is the proper way to sign out of the web app as opposed to clicking on the little X in the upper left-hand corner of the web app. You do in fact want to click the sign out option. Now, we change our focus from profile options to tabs. So instead of looking at the profile options, we're going to be looking at the tabs across the top in the black bar. Next to the number 1, you can see that we have 7 different tab options available: dashboard, measurements, assets, work orders, team, export, and reports. While I've clicked on the dashboard, you'll notice that it's actually showing me the measurements tab. And that's because if you look very closely, the dashboard tab has a little lock next to it. And that's because the only people that can access the dashboard tab are those that use our condition monitoring products. Just for reference, I wanted to show you what a dashboard would look like if you were using our condition monitoring products. This is another question we get in the support team quite often. So if we click on the dashboard option here, you can see that at the top, it gives us sort of a quick picture of what recent activities are, what the recent alarms are that have gone off on our condition monitoring assets. We can click here for recent activities. Off to the left, we've got the facility asset health status. And this is where our assets are grouped by health type. So we've got good, satisfactory, unsatisfactory, and etc. Here. So we can see we've got 13 different assets, and it looks like not very many of them are in good health. So that's a concerning issue. Next, we've got the facility asset health trend, which is a timeline of the asset health that we can review. So just a quick way to view the asset health status of all of your assets. Next, we've got the measurement tab, and here's what this looks like. At the top right, next to the number 1, you can see 3 viewing options: active sessions, save sessions, and save measurements. Again, we have little tiny padlocks next to the first 2, active and save sessions. That's because those are only available to our condition monitoring customers, but that's all right because we've got access to save measurements, and save measurements is where all of our information is stored. So after you've uploaded your tool measurements from your tool to the Fluke Connect mobile app, and the mobile app has synced to the Fluke Connect cloud, then all of those measurements are visible here in the measurements tab. So all you have to do is click on measurements, make sure you're looking at save measurements, and you can scroll through your hundreds or even thousands of measurements that you've taken since you started using Fluke Connect. So We're still looking at the measurement tab, but now we are focused on the various viewing options that are designed to help you find the measurements you need fast. When you have hundreds or thousands of measurements in your account, it's imperative that you can find what you're looking for quickly. So the first of these is the filter option you see next to number 2. So you see a little icon of a funnel, and if you click on that, it will provide you with different options of filtering. So you can filter based on just the measurements, which are going to be readings from clamp meters, digital multimeters, just thermal images, which are going to be any images from our thermal image cameras like the TI-401 Pro or a TIS-65. You've got the option to view power and energy data. Those are going to be readings from our suite of power or energy loggers like the 1736 FC or the 1738 FC or the 1746 FC. Next, we've got scope meters. So these are going to be readings from the 125B FC scope meter. And finally, we have unassigned. These are going to be all of the measurements that are currently not assigned to an asset. So one of your responsibilities is to make sure that all the measurement readings you've taken are assigned to an asset to track the health of the asset much better. Then you want to go through on a regular basis, select the unassigned option, and ensure that every single one of your readings is properly assigned to an asset. We're still looking at the measurement tab, but now we're focused on the sort option. We have the ability to sort on date, and it can be either the most recent first, which is by default, or the oldest first. So if you happen to know you need to go back to the beginning of time and assign all of your assets to or assign all of your measurements to an asset, you can pick the oldest first and just start going through chronologically. We're still looking at the measurements tab, but now we're focused on the last filter option you see here next to the number 4. If we click on this drop-down list box, you'll see all of these options available. And this gives us the ability to quickly narrow down which measurements we're looking at by date instead of by type of measurement. So here I can see if I want to take a quick look at all the measurements that I've taken today. I can do that by selecting this option, yesterday, last 7 days, last 30 days, last 6 months, or last 1 year. So it's very, very handy. We also now have the ability to use the custom date option. So maybe you want to select the last 4 days because you started your work on Sunday or Monday and you just want to go back to that day from that day through to today. So we can set a custom date range. This is extremely handy because maybe you do monthly inspection rounds, so you know you need to go back and view the last 30 days and assign those measurements to assets. Or maybe you just did 2 home inspections in the last week, so you know you can go back and use the last 7 days and then select those measurements and assign those to assets. So moving on, while we're still on the measurements tab, we're now focusing on the functionality available outside the viewing options. So like I said, you want to take these measurements and assign them to assets so that you can properly track the health status of your asset. And to do that, you can just scroll after you've used the viewing and sort options to find the measurements you want to work on. You can see here we have the option called assign to asset, and it's indicated by a little chain link right there. So if I want to take this measurement, a 376 FC measurement reading that was taken on this date at this time, and assign it to an asset, we simply click this little hyperlink here, and that will take us to the assign asset screen where we can assign this measurement to an asset. Now that's great if we want to do one measurement at a time. But let's say we've got, 3 or 4 different measurements that we've taken over the course of the day that we want to assign to one asset. So we've got 3 or 4 different measurements from our 376 FC. So here's 1, here's 2. All we need to do is check the checkbox next to all the measurements that we want to assign to an asset, and then go up to the top and select the chain link icon, which is the assign to asset option. And if you click on that, it will again take us to the assign asset screen, and we'll be able to assign multiple measurements to a single asset with just a couple of clicks. So we also have the ability to assign measurements to work orders. It works basically the same way as assigning measurements to assets, except instead of clicking on the chain link, you click on the piece of paper next to the chain link, and it's an assign to work order. So if we wanted to, we could take this measurement, assign it to a work order simply clicking this link and then assigning the asset. And it works the same way when we want to assign 2 or more measurements to a work order. We just scroll through and select all the measurements that we want to assign. And this time we select the piece of paper with the chain link to assign it to a work order. Now I will show you how to use some of the features you just saw on the Profile Options and the Measurements tab. Oh, there we go. Oh, it's just a little slow. Okay, so we're going to start with the profile options. I'm just going to cover the main profile options that everybody will have access to and will be using. So in order to access the profile icon or the profile options, we click on the little icon or the shadow icon there up at the top on the right. And here we can see the first option is our license type and how many days remaining in the license. Again, this is a frequently asked question we get in the Fluke Connect support team. So I like to point this out. If you just click on that little profile icon, the big yellow box at the top will tell you which type license you have and how many days are remaining in your subscription. Next, we've got settings. This again is another frequently asked question. In the web app, you need to specify what type of temperature unit you want to use, whether it's Celsius or Fahrenheit. So you do that by going to the profile options and selecting settings. Again, you do need to set the temperature unit in all of the Fluke Connect software. So in the web app, what you're seeing here, the mobile app and the desktop app. So the yellow option is the one that's selected. Next, you have the change password option. And this works just like every other change password in every other software. You enter your current password, your new password, and you re-enter your new password. And then you click the yellow done button in order to change that password. Keep in mind when you do change your password, as I stated before, you are not just changing your password on the web app, you're also changing your Fluke Connect password in the mobile app and in the desktop app. Next, we've got our fairly new option of the give feedback option. And here's where you can send your product recommendations or suggestions directly to the product team. You just need to enter whatever type of tool you're working on. So in this case, it might be the T3000 FC. And then you can type in your message to the product team and click the send button to get that over to them. And last but not least, we've got the sign out option. Again, this is the correct way to sign out of the Fluke Connect web app, not using the X in the upper right-hand corner. So if the technical support team asks you to sign out, please be sure to use this option. Okay, now we're moving over to the measurements tab where I'm going to show you the different viewing options available. Remember, this is where all of the measurements that you've taken from all of your tools, thermal imagers, multimeters, clamp meters, temperature sensors, are located. The data is automatically synced from your Fluke Connect mobile app to the Fluke Connect cloud, which is why we can now access it from the web browser. And as we scroll through some of the measurements that appear here, they are currently sorted by date with the newest appearing at the top. And first, I'm going to cover the filter and sort options, so you'll see how to quickly find measurements on your own. So we can see that the first measurement we're looking at was taken from a tool called the T3000 FC. This is a temperature module that we have. And these are the date and time stamps of when that measurement was taken. So it was taken on 5/25/2022 at 9:27 a.m. That was the actual measurement that we saw. The next measurement reading was taken from a 376 FC on 5/25 at 9:27 a.m. Then we took another one from the 376 FC. Now, if we want to go through and filter which measurements we're looking at, we can choose the filter icon or the funnel icon. And right now you can see we're viewing all of our measurements, but we can also just select to view just the measurements, just thermal images, etc. In our case, I'm going to show you the thermal image filter because that's pretty cool. It'll quickly sort and find all of the thermal images. So we select that, and then we give the software a moment to load. The images are large files, so give it a second or two to load up the image files. And here's the first thermal image that you can see in my account. It was taken using a TIS 20 plus. That's the name of the file. That was the max temp, the min temp, and the center point temp. This is the date and timestamp of when this image was taken. So we can scroll down and we can see that this is our next image. We've got a the hot point, the center temperature, and then the cold point. Here's a thermal image of a motor, I believe. And once you're done, always remember to go back and reset your filter back to all so that you can see all of your information again. The next option is simply a sort option where you have the ability to sort on date, either the most recent first or the oldest first. And the next option is the filter by date option, which is great because this is really, really useful. We can filter based on a custom date. We can filter based on today's date. You can see if I select today's date, there's a couple of different images available to view. If I go back to yesterday, there's probably, 8 to 10 measurements that I had taken yesterday. And again, I've got the ability to choose any other type of date range, or I can select today's or custom date range. What's great about this is that you can go into the actual if you select the date field, it gives you a pop-up calendar, which is great so that you can see quickly and easily which dates include data, and you can set that custom date range. Be sure to select a time as well, because if you leave the time as 0, it doesn't always work properly. So once we select our date and time, we can click the apply button, and now only images and measurements from that specific date range, that custom date range, will appear on the screen. This is great because it helps us narrow our focus and look at just the measurements that we want to work on, as opposed to the hundreds or thousands of measurements we have in the system. So those are all of the measurements taken within that specific date range. Now, again, we want to be sure we go back and reset our filter so that we can see all of our images if we want to work on all of our images. And now that I've demonstrated the filter and sort options, I will move on to how to assign a measurement to an asset in the Measurements tab. Remember in the presentation, if we want to assign a measurement to an asset, we simply need to click the Assign to Asset option. So you'll see that. So we click the Assign to Asset option, which takes us to the Assign Asset screen. And here you can see all of our asset groups. Right now we're looking at the ungrouped assets group, and we've got all of our assets. If we don't specifically put or create an asset within an actual group, it will fall into the ungrouped assets group. Now I know the asset I want to assign that measurement to is in the asset group called Plant 1, so I click on that. And I'm going to assign this measurement that I just selected to the P1 backroom boiler asset. So I select that asset. This asset happens to have a test point on it. And what's great about our system and our software is that you can assign multiple test points to an asset. So for example, on our boiler, maybe we want to monitor 2 or 3 different spots on the boiler to keep track of the temperature that it's running. So we can add multiple test points in order to be able to keep track of that. In our case, we have one test point, and we're going to assign the measurement reading to that one test point. And then we click the blue Assign button to execute that. And now you can see that the measurement reading from the T3000 FC that we just took is assigned to an asset in the Plant 1 asset group. the asset's called the P1 backroom boiler, and the test point we assigned it to is test point 1. So next, if we want to assign assets multiple measurements to a single asset, let's say we've taken, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 measurement readings and they all are going to go to the same asset, all we need to do is scroll through and find those measurements, select the checkbox next to the measurement in the upper left-hand corner. So here we're selecting 3 different measurement readings from our 376 FC, and then we go back up to the top and click on the chain icon, which is our assign to asset option. If you hover, it'll give you the quick tooltip. We click continue, we go back to our plant 1 asset group, and in this case, we're going to assign those 3 measurements to the P1 chiller asset. You'll notice that this asset does not have any test points because we're just putting all of this information on the actual asset itself. We click assign, and then when we go back to our measurements tab, you'll see that those 3 different measurements are now assigned to the asset called P1 chiller in the plant 1 asset group. Okay, so that was profile options and measurements. The next thing we're going to talk about is the asset tab. And here's what the asset tab looks like. If we click on the assets tab within the Fluke Connect web app, you'll see 2 viewing options at the very top here, all and condition monitoring. So this is to view all of your assets or just your condition monitoring assets, and those would be for our condition monitoring customers. Next, we've got next to the number 2, the ability to use the search function. We can search either on assets or groups, asset groups, simply by selecting which option we want here and entering in the text we want to search on and using the magnifying glass to execute that search. Now, this is very, very handy because, again, if you've got hundreds or thousands of assets, you can quickly search for exactly which one you want to work on. Most customers I work with have hundreds or thousands of assets, and they don't even need to use the search option because they know exactly which asset it is and exactly which asset group it's located in. It's amazing. Our customers are amazing. So we're still on the assets tab, but now we're going to filter the assets that we're looking at. So again, we click on the funnel icon to view just specific assets or filter which assets we want to look at. We can filter based on asset type, blower, boiler, breaker, bus bar, etc. There's 23 different asset types available that you can use to filter on. Or you can filter based off of status. This is the asset health status. And we've got 5 total options here. So good, satisfactory, unsatisfactory, unacceptable, and then unassigned. So if you have thousands of assets, like many of our customers do, these search and filter options can help you find the asset you're looking for fast. Trust me, once you get your system up and running, you'll be very grateful for all of these filter and search options, both on the measurements tab and on the assets tab. So moving on, while we're still on the Assets tab, we are now focusing on the functionality available outside of the viewing options. Maybe we just need to add an asset group or an asset. Over here on the left-hand side, you can see this is where all of our asset groups are stored. And if we want to add a new asset, we simply click on the plus button. Whenever you see the plus button in Fluke Connect software, it means add or create. So if we click on that plus button, if we click on that plus button, it will give us the ability to add a new asset group, and I'll be showing that in the demo in a little bit later. Now, if we wanted to, we could also add or create an asset. To do that, you move over to the right-hand side of the screen and click on the plus sign on this side of the screen. So adding asset groups is the left, adding assets themselves is on the right. And if you want to think about our system the way it works, asset groups are simply like the Windows File Manager. You can have folders and subfolders or subgroups. So one other feature I want to point out on the Assets tab is the ability to import your assets. Let's say you have thousands of assets and you want to add all of them to your Fluke Connect account, but you don't want to manually enter them one by one. Well, we have the ability to use the Import Template option instead. If you click on the little icon that looks like a piece of paper with an arrow through it, that's where you can go to import your assets from an Excel sheet. You get this pop-up explaining the process, and what you'll want to do is download the asset import template, and then you can take your asset information that you probably have stored in an Excel spreadsheet or have the ability to put into an Excel spreadsheet, add that information to this specific template, and then click upload, and then you'll be able to upload your hundreds or thousands of assets into the Fluke Connect software, as opposed to manually entering each one of them. It's very cool. And again, we have an entire Fluke Connect workshop presentation on how to do this. It's half hour to 45 minutes, I believe. If you click on the little question mark icon, it will take you directly to the website with all of our video recordings there. So moving on, next we're looking at the work orders tab. So on the work orders tab at the top, you can see there's two different viewing options, overview and work order list. Right now we're looking at the overview view of the work order tab. And here at the top, you can see it's got today's status summary, so the date for today's date. And you can see we've got open work orders color coded as blue. We currently have 3 of those. We have a work order number. This is simply a system generated unique identifier. We have the titles of the work order, and then we have who that work order is assigned to. In this case, I'm assigned to 2 different work orders. My demo account is Riley Russell. The schedule date for when the work is supposed to occur, and what type of priority the work order has, whether it's high, medium, or low, which would be yellow. We also have in-progress work orders, completed work orders, closed work orders, overdue work orders, unassigned, and upcoming work orders. So you simply click on the drop-down arrow or the show button to view any one of these different categories of work orders. Off to the right, you've got latest updates, so you can see what's going on the system. What's great about this is, let's say one of my teammates, Travis or Mark, starts working on one of their work orders. As soon as they click in and the data syncs to the cloud, you'll be able to see, oh, Travis just started his, annual sump pump maintenance checklist work order, excuse me. You'll also be notified when they click complete, so that they've completed their work order and that they're moving on to their next assignment. So we're still on the work orders tab, but next to the right top line here, you'll see that we're now, instead of viewing the overview view, we're looking at the work order list view. And from here, we can choose to view all work orders or just my work orders. Maybe I'm a team lead, so I need to view and manage all of the work orders available in the system, but I also have my own specific work orders that I'm assigned to that I need to work through. We also have the ability to filter here as well, because we do have customers who have over 500 work orders on the system. They actually use the Fluke Connect Asset software for the work order functionality, because our work order software is extremely easy to use, but it's also very robust. And then we've got, next to the number 4, we've got the ability to search. We can search for any work orders. And then next to the number 5, we've got our detailed work order information. So the unique identifier, the title and description, what type it is, whether it's a planned work order or an unplanned work order, who it's assigned to, when it's scheduled for. If it's already been started and completed, you'll get that information as well, because if your technician fills out that information, like when they started and when it ended, you'll be able to see that exact information. And then of course you've got the priority here. And last but not least, you can of course click the new work order button in the top right corner, and that is how you can go ahead and add a new work order. So moving on, while we're still on the work order tab, oh, sorry, we've actually moved on to the team tab. Moving on, here's what the Teams tab looks like. This is another area where we get many questions. So let's start with the main area next to the number 1. This is the main area. So this is a list of the people on my team currently. You can see that I'm currently on the team, and my other teammate is Travis Turner. We can see what type of licenses we have. So we're both using the Assets free trial license. And we can also, next to the number 3, if we wanted to, some people do have several members on their team, like 12 or 13 members on their team, and so we may actually need to use the search function, or we can use the filter option to filter based on license type, so we can find all of the people on the team that have the Assets free trial license or the free measurements trial. we can also see here under pending invitations, these are the invitations that I have emailed out to other people who I'd like to join my team. So there's 2 people I've sent invitations to who have not yet responded. And then over here next to the number 6, we see a question mark within the Teams tab itself. If you have any questions about the process or how to use the Teams functionality, you can click on the question mark there. And it will take you through a step-by-step tutorial on using the features available within the Teams tab. Okay, so while we're on the Teams tab, we're now focusing on the functionality available outside of the viewing options. Next to the number 1, if you wanted to invite additional team members to your team, you simply click the invite button and it opens up what looks like a email, and you just type in the email address of the user that you want to be added to your Fluke Connect team. Now, if I wanted to edit any one of my users' information, I could simply click on the pencil icon. So maybe I want to take Travis from assets down to measurements. I could do that by using the pencil icon. If I wanted to delete Travis's account and remove him from my team, let's say he's quit the company, so I don't want him to have access to our account information, I simply click on the delete icon here. I also have the ability to, right now you can see this little icon. This means that I'm the team administrator. So if I wanted to, I could reassign that responsibility to my teammate Travis. I could also edit Travis's account and add him as a secondary or a backup team administrator. It's generally a very good idea to have a backup team administrator, because let's say I was out sick for a couple of days or on vacation, I would want someone else on the team to have the ability to administer the team while I'm out. So moving on, we're looking at the Export tab now. If you remember back to the Assets tab, we had the ability to import assets from your own system into the Fluke Connect software. This is the ability to export asset information. So instead of importing, you're exporting asset information from Fluke Connect into an Excel file for you to use on your own system. You simply select Asset Export next to the number 1 here and click on Asset Export, and then you'll select which asset groups and which assets you want to export and the date range of the data that you want to export. And then you click the download button, and that will download that file, an Excel file, to your local PC. This is very handy for people who may not have Fluke Connect software, so they don't want to go in and view the data from that perspective. They just want to see an Excel spreadsheet with all of their asset and measurement data. The last tab we have available in the Fluke Connect web app is the Reports tab. This is where you can go to generate an asset-based report. So you would just simply click on the Create Report option and then select which assets you want the report to include, and it will generate a report for you. So now let's see how to use assets, work orders, and teams in the actual software itself. So we click on our Assets tab, and we're going to go ahead and do a quick search. First, we're going to search for an asset group. So we go over to the, that's where our asset groups are, and you can see the current groups we have. That's where our search option is. We can search on asset groups and type an asset group name in the search bar there. So we're going to search on all of the asset groups that have the word plant in it. So we type the word plant, and then we click on the magnifying glass to execute the search. And now you can see our search results shows 6 asset groups with the word plant in it. Plant 4, plant 3, plant 2. We also have 2 that we don't visibly see here, subgroups of the Boeing asset group. So we've got the Renton plant and the Everett plant, which are located in the Boeing asset group. And then we've got plant 1 as well. So we clear the search option, and now we switch it over from asset groups to assets. And I'm going to search on every asset with the word chiller in the name. So I type the word chiller and click the magnifying glass. And here I can see that I've got 3 assets with the word chiller in the title. So chiller 2A, chiller 80, and P1 chiller. Now, from a naming convention, this is not good because this is not standardized. So you want to come up with a standard naming convention for your assets and use that. But for our purposes, I just wanted to show you we can find any and every asset with the word chiller in it. What might be handy is to find all of the assets, in building A, if you use the A at the end, that type of thing. You can do searches like that as well. So next, I'm going to show you how to create or add an asset group and an asset. So remember, to create an asset group, we go over to the asset group area and we click the plus sign. We simply type in the name of the asset group that we want to create and then click the blue save button. Our screen refreshes, and now under asset groups, we can see our newly created group called Amazon Plant. You can see that right now we're looking at the Amazon Plant, and this is where our assets would appear, but because we have not created any for our new group, it says no assets available. So the next thing we want to do is create some assets using the plus sign on the right-hand side of the screen. I type in the name of my new asset. I select what type of asset it is. Remember, there's 23 different options. We also have an asset type called other. So if one of the 22 options don't work for you, you could use the other option. We do have one called fan, so we can select that. And now here are our options for the asset health status. So this is where you can specify what your current health is for the asset that you're adding. So in our case, the Amazon fan is fairly new, so it's going to have a status of good. But if it were old equipment or malfunctioning equipment, we can pick unsatisfactory or unacceptable. We click the blue done button. Don't forget to click the blue done button. And now you can see that we have in the Amazon Plant asset group, we have a new asset called Amazon Fan. You can see the user that created that asset and set the asset status. This is my username and the date and time of when I did that. So we go back to the Assets tab, and we can see the Amazon Plant asset group and our new asset called Amazon Fan. So next, we're moving on to work orders. Again, we've got two viewing options in the upper right-hand corner. You've got overview and work order list. We'll start with the overview option. And here, again, you can see today's status summary. This is the date. We've got all of our work orders sorted by category: open, in progress, completed, closed, etc. We currently have 3 open work orders, 2 in progress. To view those details, we simply click on the drop-down arrow next to each one of those. So those are again, the different categories of work orders. So here we can see the work order number, the title of each work order, who it's assigned to, what the schedule date is, and what the priority is. So in this case, we've got 1 work order assigned to my account, my demo account, and 1 work order assigned to Travis. Mine is a high priority work order. The other 2 work orders are regular priority. Yellow would be low priority. If you hover just right, you can actually see the contents of the actual work order itself. So I was able to hover and get all of the steps in that particular work order, which is handy. Off to the right, you've got the latest update section where, again, if you're monitoring your workers, you can see when they started a work order, when they completed a work order, and maybe whether they're on break or not. You can use the blue Add Work Order button to create a new work order. Now we're moving on to view the work order list. You can see that right now I'm viewing all work orders, and they're color coded by type. Remember, the yellow ones mean in progress. The blue ones are open work orders. You can see the work order title, the type of work order, who it's assigned to, when it's scheduled, when it was started, when it was completed, and what the priority was. So right now we're viewing all work orders. That's all work orders for the entire team. But if I wanted to, I could toggle to just view my work orders. So much fewer work orders there. I think there's 4 total that are currently assigned to me in different states. We'll go back and view all work orders again. And here's the filter option. So we have the ability to filter on the work order status. So if we just want to focus on open work orders or in progress work orders, we could do that. And we also have the ability to focus on priority. So maybe we just want to review all of our high priority work orders. So let's look at just the in progress work orders. So you can see that we only have 2. They're color coded with the yellow marker here. So only 2 in progress work orders. We reset the default to view all again, and we want to view all work orders with the high priority. So those are all the high priority work orders with the red dot there next to them. We can also search for a work order. Maybe we want to find all of the work orders with the word boiler in the title. So we've got 2 work orders in our system that have the word boiler in the title. Next, we're moving on to the Teams tab. We'll take a quick look at the Teams tab. So on the main part of the page, you can see that our team now consists of 3 different people. We've got me, my demo account, Mark Manning, and Travis Turner. You can see the license types that are assigned to our accounts. So Travis and I have assets and Mark has measurements. If we wanted to, we could edit the accounts. So maybe Mark has been working with us for a couple of months now and he can get upgraded to have access to the asset information. So I can use the little pencil icon to change his license type. Or if Mark quits the company, alternatively, we might want to remove him from our team by using the trash can icon. So we can search and filter. We can filter team members based on their license type. We can look at the pending invitations. So these are the accounts that I sent invitations to, then the date and time I sent them. It's been quite a while, so we might want to revoke these invitations and send out new invitations. So this is how you would add or invite new team members to your team. You simply enter in the email address of the Fluke Connect account that they're using and send a message to them, and then click the send button down here. Okay, that wraps up our second demonstration on assets, work orders, and teams. So a couple things before we go. The Fluke Connect resources available to you include the Fluke Connect website, which is available at fluke.com, products, and then Fluke Connect. The Fluke Connect video workshops are available at fluke.com/quickstart, and you'll want to click on the 4th tile from the left that says handheld tools. So go to fluke.com/quickstart handheld tools. You might want to write that website down. Again, you can access all of these videos using the question mark from within the Fluke Connect web app. But if you're not logged into the web app, you might want to just go directly to the Quick Start page and click the handheld tools to view the 23 different videos we've already completed so far. If you want to get more information on our products, like our condition monitoring products, you can contact our sales team using this phone number and this email address. Or if you need assistance, like troubleshooting assistance or support, you can contact the Fluke Connect support team. Our phone number is 425-200-0080, or email us at flukeconnectsupport@fluke.com. So if you have any technical questions or issues related to the software, this is where you contact us. Now, if you've got hardware questions specific to your tool, like how to adjust the settings on your thermal imager, you will want to contact the hardware team for those types of questions. But we are very, very helpful with the software questions. So that concludes the presentation portion of the Fluke Connect workshop. In the next day or two, you will all be receiving an email thanking you for attending. It will include a link to the recording of this presentation and a link to register for the next workshop on Thursday, June 23rd. Also, at the conclusion of the session, you'll be asked to provide feedback on the presentation in a short survey. Please take a moment to do so. We do review all of your comments and feedback in those surveys. I will be taking questions now, and as a reminder, please keep the questions to the topic we just covered. Give me a moment to stop the recording.